Hello everyone, welcome to your Transmute Yourself weekly live show where we talk about topics related to fear of commitment so that you can create your own fulfilling relationship. My name is Javier Peñalba and today we'll talk about 3 myths about love that may be ruining or have the potential to ruin your relationships. Just want to tell you right now that I'm in Spain right now for a month where I'm remotely working for the moment. So this is a new experience for me as well, and this is my first video that I'm doing here. All right, so let's talk about this topic, right? The 3 myths about love. As you all might know, we receive information all of the time that can influence our views of how we should live in general, right? So, for example, how we should the place or the apartment, the house that we should have, the type of relationship that we should have, the type of job, the profession, all of these type of things we have been learning them since we're kids about how we should live our lives, right? And I want to just touch upon a specific part of that, which is the part of relationships and love. So in general, regarding this, we all get bombarded by different images, sounds, songs, things like that, stories, films that tell us how our relationships should look like in terms of our partners, how their partners, for example, should look like physically or should behave, or how we should be in the relationship. It goes as far as telling us how love should be like. So let's put a couple of examples. In terms of what I was saying regarding a partner, it can be that, for example, a relationship or a partner should look in a specific, perfect way, right? We see ads on magazines or videos or in films, etc. And then this, of course, has the potential to influence our views of how beauty should be like, right? Another example can be, for example, regarding love specifically. So as we were growing up, many people, right? They grew up with stories like love stories or fairy tales that detail or describe or leave an impression in us of how love should look like. So there's a prince, right? He meets a princess that is in trouble, that is miserable right now, and then he rescues her, then they fall in love, they get married, and then they live happily for forever and ever. So this is the image that we have, right? And the prince is super handsome and the princess is extremely beautiful. And all of this becomes a part of our subconscious programs, right? Then there's also songs, right? We hear in songs in lyrics such as those lyrics that are telling us that how miserable one person is without the other half. And in other variations of that just make us give so much power to another person, right? And to the word love and to relationships. But this is just influences that we're getting from outside. So we all have to deal with this, and it is normal. We have to find a balance between this dreamy type of stories that we get bombarded with and images and things like that, and also with reality. And once we face reality, we find out that it's not as clear and as beautiful always as it is with the stories that we hear, right? So that's normal. We all face that. However, some people, especially people with fear of commitment, which is the basic or the main topic that we talk about here, or people that have obsessive thoughts, such as people with relationship OCD, they tend to have a big or a deep fear of missing out, right? So if they get bombarded with these stimuli, this, of course, this creates expectations, and these huge expectations that are created are taken very seriously by the people with a fear of commitment or with obsessive thoughts. And what ends up happening is that if they see someone, or if they see some type of something that can influence them, like a stimulus from outside, let's say a beautiful person on a magazine, or they hear from a friend that they're doing so well in their relationship, or they see something in a movie, right? How a relationship feels like in the movie, and so much love and everything like that, then they start believing that that's how their life should be. And of course, if what they have at this moment is not giving them that, they're just gonna blame it on whoever's in front of them, and they're just gonna this is gonna trigger their fear of missing out, right? And of course, the fear of commitment and the potential obsessive thoughts. So I want to talk today about three myths, right? Three myths that have been that can be created through all of these stories and all of these stimuli that we get. And I'll try also to help you to debunk them so that you can see the reality, the truth behind them, and that can potentially help you to also live a more fruitful or satisfying life in terms of a relationship. So the first one is that your relationship should always make you feel in love. This is something that I used to have, this thought, and I know other people that have or have had fear of commitment that have struggled with this. So this goes pretty much like this. As you start a relationship, or as you start liking someone and you feel this attraction and you get so excited right at the beginning, and this is what's usually called the infatuation stage. So what happens is that in some people, especially people that think a lot, this sets up an expectation of how they should be feeling in the rest of the relationship. They feel and they think that this feeling of the butterflies in the stomach and simply not noticing or not paying that much attention to flaws, but really just focusing on what's beautiful, that's this overall feeling is what should remain in the rest of the relationship. And then once this couple of months of infatuation, a year max, let's say, after that, and they're not feeling all of this, then they think it's simply the partner, right? Or that it's not the right relationship. And if on top of that, they have all these expectations that have been set up through stories and through stimuli, of course, this is going to trigger their fear of commitment. So let me talk to you a little bit more about this infatuation stage. Psychologists and other specialists, they say that this is simply a part of our survival mechanism in an animalistic way that helps us to reproduce, right? So let's say our brains, our prefrontal cortex pretty much focuses on the beautiful, what we like, right? And it omits or it disregards what it doesn't like so that it can get, and at the same time, it generates many hormones, right? That help just to focus on certain parts or certain aspects so that they feel this excitement, and this helps in the reproduction. So it's a survival mechanism that helps us to just feel so in love that we want to reproduce, right? But what remains after that, of course, once we're not feeling all of these hormones, this dopamine and oxytocin and others, then what happens is that we start seeing things a little bit closer to, let's say, without this pink glasses, right? We see closer to what it is, and then comes the time in which we have to accept who we are with, if that's what we want to, right? So the reality of everything that I'm saying regarding this infatuation and feeling in love and the expectation that's created is that beyond the simple emotion and beyond the feeling of feeling love, love in a relationship is based on a decision. And it's a decision of going all in with the person and accepting the person how they are without changing them. Of course, this can have limits. The limits can be what I have talked in other videos, such as red flags, right? Abuse and things like that. But in general, this is more based on a decision. And this decision can involve ups and downs, high emotions, positive emotion, and also negative emotions. I heard once from someone who said that love is falling, or love in a relationship, right, is falling in and out of love with the same person over and over again. So, and this comes through this decision, right? If you decide that you accept the person that you're with, you stop fighting reality, you stop struggling with what is, and you simply accept, right? And this acceptance, this reduces a lot the resistance and reduces stress. And then of course you can more easily fall in love again. Let's say if you have fallen out of love, or if you fell out of love in a certain way, this can also help you to debunk the thought or the limiting belief that once you fall out of love, you cannot fall in love again. This is a process, right? There's ups and downs, just like our, according to our emotions and our thoughts. So this is that first part, right? This first myth: your relationship should always make you feel in love, just like in the fairy tales where everyone is so happy. That's false, right? It varies, and there's behind everything a conscious decision. The second one that I have is the myth that there's only one person for each other in the world. And this also, we hear it from stories, we hear it from songs, sometimes from people that believe that way, and then that can affect our views, right? But can you imagine if you believe that? If you believe that there's only one person that can be a match for you in the whole world, then, and if you start finding things that you don't like about your partner, especially if you have fear of commitment, right? Then of course, if you believe that, you're gonna start thinking that you're losing your time there and that that person is elsewhere, and you're gonna want to run away. You're gonna get stressed, right? Because this thought is affecting you. This belief that there's only one person is affecting you. Now, what's the reality? This can sound a little bit cold or unromantic, let's say, for some people, but this is closer, believe me, to reality, at least as I see it, and as I've also seen from other people and specialists. And again, is that love is a decision, right? And there can be many matches for you in this world. It's simply that you want to choose the best match for you, for yourself, including or considering your current level of consciousness, your current understanding of what you want. Of course, you should use some common values, of course, attraction in the mental and the physical way. All of these things are to be considered, right? But then that doesn't mean that there's only one person. Once you are with a person, your choice, let's say, is to accept that person as they are, and that's a choice, that's a decision. Or of course leave the person. Whatever in between and trying to change the person is not gonna, it never or very, very seldom works, right? So this is another myth. There's only one person, and again, we hear that all the time. Once you decide for one person, once you choose consciously what you want, then it's a matter of accepting, right? And again, if you manage to accept and to leave the resistance and just be present with that person, a lot of the stress and the fight, the struggle will leave you, will leave your body, and then you will start seeing the person more as they are. Now let's talk about the third one, which is partners should always have many things in common, otherwise relationships won't work. Now I hear that a lot from people that say that, well, they fell in love, right, and everything was fine, but then after a couple of months they started going their own ways because each had their own interests, and that they started spending less and less time with each other. This, again, we can go back to the infatuation stage in which we're just focusing on what's common, right? And then we leave out or we discard whatever is not common. However, I think that it is not necessary to have that many things in common. This is, again, my personal experience and my opinion, that that is actually healthy to have different interests, that sets a sort of balance, let's say, in the relationship, so that each of the two partners can have their own time and have something to tell each other. You know, it's part of the space that people need in general, and that one has to respect the other person's interest. Of course, if it goes against your values, that's something to talk about. But in general, this is how things are, right? Respecting the other person's mindset, thinking, and of course, their interest. Now, what can be done is to consciously spend time together, right? To have a couple of hours per week or per day, even before going to bed, just spending 5 to 10 minutes each night, so that each can speak a little bit about their day. This type of thing just sets the stage for a more joined, connected relationship. And it's not necessary to have that many things in common, to just speak and listen to the other person, right? It can also be going to places together, going to on vacations, whatever it is, finding whatever it is that keeps you together. And you can go back to the first couple of months. What was it that kept you guys together? For example, what were those interests? And maybe you can use some of those, not necessarily, but that can be of help. And of course, use the common values, right? If you can see the person, remind yourself why it is that you are with that person. Why is it that you are overall in a relationship and then with that person? And then what was it that called your attention about that person? And then finding some interest in common that can set a stage again for something more satisfying in the relationship. And then having some specific times, right? Finally, if you can direct your energy and your focus, if you can daily or at least a couple times per week by applying or practicing gratitude, that can also help. What I tend to do is that in the night I have some gratitude cards, and I write down what I was grateful about during the day. And of course, there's always something about my partner, so that can keep my energy focused on what I like. And that makes me feel good, right? And I've heard this from other people as well. So again, not necessary. It's not always necessary to have many things in common. Just consciously invest your energy on those things that are common between you, and spend time together on things that can bond you, right? That can create or increase that bond. All right, so these are the 3 myths that I wanted to bring for you today. If you have any other myths or anything that you would like me to talk about regarding this topic, or even if you just want to write down a myth and tell me why it is a myth and how you would debunk it yourself, just let me know in the comments, and I'm very interested to just hear more from you. All right, if you like this video, if you like this event, I want to invite you to like it, right? To just hit on like, to subscribe to my channel, and to share it with anyone that you think could benefit from this. Thank you, and talk to you very soon.